It is not difficult to listen to people. It is difficult to understand them. Most people tell you who they want to be. Very few show you who they actually are. A wise person does not rush to explain. An unwise one speaks quickly and follows loudly. Be careful with words. They are easy to practice. They are easy to borrow. Actions are slower. Reactions are harder to control. That is where people forget to hide. If you want to understand someone, don't interrupt them. Don't argue. Don't correct them. Just watch who they follow. Notice what changes when they are uncomfortable. Pay attention to how they act when nothing is at stake. People reveal themselves quietly, not all at once, not on purpose. You don't need many questions. You only need the right ones. People believe they understand others because they have spoken to them. But conversation is often just a performance. Most people know how to sound reasonable. They know which words feel safe. They know how to agree without meaning it. Understanding does not come from listening harder. It comes from watching longer. A person reveals more in what they repeat than in what they explain. More in what irritates them than in what excites them. More in what they avoid than in what they defend. When someone is calm, they are prepared. When someone is uncomfortable, they are honest without trying to be. Pay attention to small shifts. A pause that lasts too long. A smile that disappears too quickly. A change in tone when a simple question is asked. These moments are not accidents. They are cracks. Most people do not lie directly. They adjust. They soften. They rearrange the truth so it sits better with their image. That is why words alone are unreliable. Words are chosen. Reactions are revealed. A person may speak about values, but behave differently when those values are tested. They may speak about respect, but lose it the moment control slips away. They may speak about independence, yet follow the comfort of familiar opinions. This is not hypocrisy. It is habit. People repeat patterns long before they notice them. And those patterns speak clearly to anyone who is patient enough to observe. Silence helps. When you say less, others fill the space. When you don't correct, they continue. When you don't challenge, they relax. And when people relax, they stop editing themselves. You don't need to trap anyone. You don't need to pressure them. Time does the work for you. Watch who they admire. Watch who they blame. Watch who they respect when no one is watching. Understanding is not an action. It is a position. You stand still and let people walk past you as they are. People are rarely revealed by what they say when everything feels easy. They are revealed when something inside them is disturbed. Pressure changes behavior. So does disappointment. So does losing control. When someone feels secure, they manage their image. When that security weakens, the effort slips. Watch what happens when a person is questioned gently but unexpectedly. Not aggressively. Not to provoke, just enough to shift the ground beneath them. Some people become defensive. Some become quiet. Some laugh too quickly. Some change the subject without noticing they've done it. These reactions are not random. They are practiced responses learned over time. A person who is confident does not rush to protect himself. A person who is unsure builds explanations in advance. Notice how often someone speaks about being misunderstood, or how quickly they blame circumstances, or how rarely they speak about responsibility without adding conditions. Ego is subtle. It does not always shout. Sometimes it hides behind politeness, sometimes behind humor, sometimes behind silence. Pay attention to how people treat small inconveniences. A delayed reply, a mild disagreement, a moment where they are not centered. These moments feel unimportant, but they carry information. People show their values not when they are praised, but when they are ignored. They show their character not when they are winning, but when the outcome no longer favors them. Control is revealing. So is the loss of it. When someone cannot influence the situation, their tone changes. Their patience shortens. Their kindness becomes conditional. This is why observation matters more than interpretation. You do not need to label behavior. You do not need to explain it. You only need to notice patterns. Patterns repeat, and repetition removes doubt. Understanding does not come from confrontation. It comes from distance. You stay calm. You stay quiet. And you allow people to show you who they are. In the next part, those patterns become clearer. There are moments when people reveal more than they intend. Not because they are careless, but because they believe nothing important is happening. This is where questions matter. Not to extract information, but to observe what changes. There are only a few you need. The first question is simple. It sounds harmless. You ask them about something they strongly dislike in others. Listen carefully. People describe themselves without realizing it. What they criticize most often is what they struggle with privately. What they condemn quickly is what they fear being seen for. Notice the tone. Notice the certainty. Notice how easily judgment appears. This question is not about morality. It is about projection. The second question touches responsibility. You ask them about a mistake they once made. Some answers are short. Some are carefully explained. Some are redirected towards circumstances, timing, or other people. Pay attention to how long it takes before responsibility appears. Or if it appears at all. A person who has grown speaks plainly. A person who hasn't protects their image, not with lies, with adjustments. This question reveals honesty, but more importantly, maturity. The third question is the quietest one. You ask them about someone they no longer need, someone who offers no advantage, no approval, no status. Listen to how they describe that person, with respect, with indifference, or with subtle contempt. This is where values surface. How someone treats those who cannot benefit them is how they truly operate. These questions do not work immediately. They work when you stop reacting. You don't correct the answer. You don't respond emotionally. You allow silence to settle. Silence changes things. People speak differently when they feel unjudged, and they reveal more when they feel unseen. The answers themselves are not the point. The shifts are, the pauses, the tension, the change in rhythm. That is where understanding lives. Once you begin to notice these patterns, you stop trying to figure people out. You simply let them show you. In friendships, this changes everything. You no longer chase clarity through explanations. You observe consistency instead. Who stays calm when plans fall apart? Who becomes distant when you stop agreeing? Who remains respectful when there is nothing to gain? In relationships, it becomes even clearer. Affection is easy when attention is returned. Character appears when it isn't. Notice who listens without waiting to respond. Notice who turns every conversation back to themselves. Notice who respects your boundaries without needing reminders. At work, the same rules apply. Titles hide behavior. Pressure reveals it. Watch how people treat those with less influence. Watch how they react when their ideas are questioned. Watch how quickly cooperation turns into control. You don't need to confront any of this. Confrontation creates noise. Observation creates understanding. Distance helps. Not emotional distance, but mental space. You stop explaining yourself unnecessarily. You stop correcting impressions. You stop filling silence. And in that space, people behave naturally. Some become lighter. Some become uneasy. Both reactions are informative. Understanding someone does not mean staying. It does not mean leaving either. It simply means you are no longer confused. You know what you are dealing with. And clarity is quiet. At some point, you realize something quietly. You were never meant to decode people. You were meant to see them. Most confusion comes from listening too closely to words and not closely enough to patterns. People rarely hide who they are. They just reveal it slowly, in moments that feel ordinary, in reactions that seem too small to matter. When you stop asking for explanations, you start receiving clarity. You notice who grows calmer over time and who grows more defensive. You notice who respects silence and who fears it. You notice who remains the same when no one is watching. This understanding does not make you colder. It makes you steadier. You stop forcing alignment. You stop searching for reassurance. You stop needing certainty from people who cannot offer it. You don't accuse. You don't announce what you see. You simply adjust your distance. And that distance protects you without a single word being said. Most people will never know why you changed. And that is exactly how it should be. Because the clearest truths are the ones you don't explain.